Jade Cargill. She is WWE's new Queen of the Ring and possibly one of the most physically striking talents in modern televised wrestling. A woman who once teamed with NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal and spent over 500 days undefeated in AEW before leaping to WWE in a much publicized fashion. She's got a cool gimmick that is undeniable and obviously inspired maybe by the Marvel superhero Storm from X-Men. Yeah, you can see the resemblance there. Yeah, we feel it, yeah. And now she has a legitimate claim to the WWE Women's World Championship. But how did she get here? And where is she going to go? Today, we're going to dig into all of that. A storm is present. It's Sportskeeda Wrestling. And today, we're taking a look at the rise of Jade Cargill in WWE. I'm Kevin Kalman. Before we get into all of it, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Then click that little bell icon. One more button to hit. You hit the like button. And then there's other buttons on your keyboard. Hit them and then put in your comments and tell us what you think. Yeah, on with the video. Jade Cargill's journey into pro wrestling is an interesting one. Before she was a WWE wrestling prospect, Jade was dominating as a college basketball standout for Jacksonville University, even earning MVP honors. If that wasn't enough, she also holds a master's degree in child psychology and enjoyed a stint in fitness modeling, which shows. And somewhere along the way, Jade even had a tryout with WWE's Performance Center. But her story with WWE didn't begin there. Instead, they reportedly passed on her, saying she needed a little bit more time to get ready for the big time. Fortunately, depending on how you look at it, Tony Khan and All Elite Wrestling saw Jade Cargill's potential and pounced like a Jacksonville Jaguar at the opportunity. Cargill debuted in pro wrestling in AEW. That's right. The first time anyone saw her wrestle was on television with All Elite Wrestling in 2020 and immediately made waves by aligning herself with NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal. That's how you debut, with actual Shaq, one of the most popular athletes of all time. Yeah, that's a big deal. As if that wasn't enough pressure, she was teaming up in a match against Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet, who was replacing the initially intended Brandy Rhodes on AEW Dynamite, where Jade, during her in-ring debut, that's right, this was her first match ever, showed the world that she was definitely going to be a big match wrestler down the line. She had that head-turning look, and AEW knew it, and she kept getting better. This was such a pressure cooker way to be presented on television, but AEW certainly put a lot into it. Jade became the AEW inaugural TBS champion and racked up an astonishing 60-match undefeated streak. She had charisma and presence despite her technical limitations and lack of experience. She had the look, she had that it factor. Though the crowd reactions weren't always what you might expect for such a dominant talent, maybe fans were waiting for longer matches or the 5-star affair. Maybe Jade's style just didn't suit AEW so well, which has a very, very depthful, technically strong wrestling presentation. Whatever the reason, her momentum started to maybe plateau. It never dipped. She dropped the TBS title to Chris Statlander in May of 2023, disappearing from AEW soon after. Enter WWE. In one of the biggest talent defections between AEW and WWE in this modern era, WWE announced that Jade Cargill had signed a multi-year deal on social media with a big rollout and began hyping her following this. The media campaign included an ESPN interview. Triple H shook her hand backstage in a segment that aired on TV. She made cameos on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. WWE was declaring that Jade was going to be a big deal, and they were going to treat her that way. WWE clearly had big plans for her, and now we were seeing her presented in this unique way where she was going to debut was also going to be impactful. And all of this occurred before she ever wrestled a single match on WWE television. As we touched on in this video, Jade Cargill's character has an inspired look from Storm of the Marvel Comics X-Men line, and she even referenced it in her interviews. WWE was all for it. It was a perfect fit for her own brand of sports entertainment and pro wrestling. Gaga, you can't turn your head. Yeah, that's Jade Cargill. They love big personalities, hero aesthetics, crossover appeal, and an entrance that makes even a casual fan say, "Who's that girl?" The question on everybody's mind was, how is she going to hold up in the ring in a different environment? Her actual debut happened during the 2024 Women's Royal Rumble match, coming as a surprise entrant, but one that people were expecting after months of anticipation. But when she got in the ring, it was a significant change. She eliminated Nia Jax, a former women's champion, and went face-to-face with Bianca Belair, and the crowd sunk their teeth in. But these were moments, instant moments for someone. Outside of big spots, however, her matches have faced some criticism for looking maybe a little bit too stiff, maybe a little too clunky. Some fans called her green, yeah, like they've ever been in a wrestling ring, and others thought that maybe she could benefit from some time in WWE developmental. She didn't exactly have a glittering run on the indies after all. She only wrestled in big televised companies. Remember that debut match we told you? That was with Shaq. That was the first time she ever wrestled in front of a crowd. And this is a WWE fickle fandom that sometimes simply wants to pile on with the batch. I learned the word batch on an internet wrestling forum. Now I'm gonna retweet it and look at me, I'm an expert. And sure, whatever. You can't please the majority of the audience all of the time. Just ask a pre-2020 Roman Reigns. It can come across as forced and, as we mentioned, fickle. And admittedly, at times, Jade's crowd reactions can be a little bit wavering. But let's not forget, some of the other dominating forces in WWE history weren't exactly Shawn Michaels in the ring either. Sometimes it's a big personality that captures a majority of our imaginations, and we get excited about where they're going. Chyna didn't do flips. Chyna wasn't a technical wrestler, but she was a huge draw and helped truly spin the wheel for women's wrestling and make it a bigger deal down the line, with an imposing presence and an impressive physique. Batista started off as a deacon, and then he became a world champion. Even Goldberg was limited, but still had that larger-than-life personality that made him one of the biggest names of the Monday Night Wars back in the 90s. What mattered for these talents was their, this is a hot word that a lot of people use, it was their aura. Yeah, WWE had faith in Jade Cargill's aura. Another word that some of you fans like to overuse and abuse, but with Jade Cargill, the aura, the it factor, as we mentioned, is undeniable. It outranks every other critique of her. WWE soon slotted her into a high-profile alliance with the always impressive Bianca Belair. The EST would help give her some seasoning, and Naomi, who had recently returned to WWE from a run in TNA, would also play a role in this entire storyline. It was a smart move, giving Jade Cargill some time to be with veterans and get the rub from former world champions. And they became some of the most effective acts in the women's division that had synchronized gear, a big presence, and more importantly, they started winning championship titles. In April of 2025, the team of Bianca and Jade captured the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, defeating Damage Control in a match that really helped cement Jade's arrival. But the friendship didn't last. Despite a victory for the trio over Damage Control at WrestleMania 40 with that elaborate entrance that I still think was one of the best of the weekend, soon after, Jade was written off of television with a well-produced injury angle. Smashed on the glass of a hooded car. Who attacked Jade Cargill backstage? We didn't know which member of the women's locker room did it. Was it that conniving Liv Morgan and her muscle-bound henchwoman Raquel Rodriguez, who are suspected attackers? Or was it revealed to be Naomi? Yes, the very woman who replaced Cargill as one half of the women's tag team champions alongside her possible bestie that she would betray, Bianca Belair. The feud that followed was better than anyone thought it could be on paper, and they truly excelled at it. Naomi played a cocky veteran who felt like she was doing the right thing. I had to hold back Jade, and was scorned because the powerhouse was going to seek her for revenge. The crowd seemed to respond to this so much that the SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis set up a match between the two at WrestleMania 41, the first non-title women's match at WrestleMania since Tori Wilson took on Candice Michelle in a Playboy pillow fight at WrestleMania 22. But this was not a Playboy pillow fight, with Jade Cargill walking out of Las Vegas as the big winner. And then came her crowning moment. Literally. In June of 2025, Jade outlasted a bracket full of WWE's top women in a tournament to reach the finals of the Queen of the Ring. In the final match in Saudi Arabia, Night of Champions, Jade took out the veteran, the verified future Hall of Famer that is Asuka, a dominating presence in her own right, and beat the Empress of Tomorrow clean to become WWE's new Queen of the Ring. No interference, no questionable finishes. Jade won this thing straight right down the middle with an impactful crowd, maybe saying, hey, we're not into this, but clearly she won it, and she won it in a significant way. The crown on her head, the pyro in the background, and a title match in her sights at SummerSlam coming up in New York, New Jersey. It seems like big things are bound for Jade Cargill in her near future. WWE has strapped the proverbial rocket to her back with ups and downs, but now it looks like it's straight up. And though she still has her critics and detractors, it's hard to deny she's now a major player. I'm Matt Cardona on WWE's women's roster. Of course, Jade still has some work to do. There are still times when her matches maybe don't click the way she's supposed to be as like a modern-day female Goldberg. But again, this is a wrestler who's only been active for a few years and has to be active at the highest, most scrutinized level of professional wrestling. She doesn't have to become the next Bryan Danielson in the ring. It's not like WWE hasn't protected her technically in matches that highlight her power and lowlight any weaknesses. Yeah, the old Paul Heyman approach. If anything, it's one of their favorite things to do, and they're doing it for the most part fairly well with Jade. Give her a devastating finisher, a distinctive look, a winning streak, and then run with it. WWE has a formula here, and it can work with a lot of different superstars, including Jade. It was done with the likes of Kevin Nash, maybe to a point Roman Reigns at one level or another. WCW pulled it off with Goldberg that made Goldberg through the streak. He was one of the biggest names of the 90s, as we mentioned, and Jade is one of those names that casual wrestling fans ask about. Yes, you may not be in that crowd, but Jade is someone they talk about. So what's next for Jade? With a successful outing at Night of Champions, it seems like a world title match at SummerSlam is more or less a guarantee. Jade Cargill is no longer just a new face in WWE. She's a new world title contender. And if she keeps going at this rate, she might actually have a world title around her waist by the end of the year. A storm isn't coming. It's already here. What do you think of Jade Cargill's rise so far? Is she going to become a world champion in your opinion? You watched this whole video, you haven't hit that like button yet? Do that, hit the notification bell so you know exactly when we drop new videos just like this. And hey, thank you for watching Sportskeeda Wrestling. We know you have a lot of choices to watch anything online. You watched us, and we really appreciate that.